founder of Diana Yanis Consulting, and today I'm here to tell you about my latest invitation to open up Bally's speech of sustainability at Packaging Premiere. At first, when I received that invitation, I honestly didn't know what to say, but then I realized I had the possibility to be in front of many decision makers, to give them my point of view on how we, workers of the fashion industry, can be agents of change. I wrote down a story which is called The Story of a Box. It went more or less like this. I am a 34-year-old person, and as many millennials, I buy online. So I go to my favorite website and I end up finding a pair of shoes that I didn't even know I needed. After 2 clicks, I buy it. And after 24 hours, the package arrives. I am so excited. I get the box. It's a brown box. And the box itself, even though it's an e-commerce box, it has some printing on top. I open it and I have more paper surrounding a beautiful branded box. Of course, the paper is not to ruin the box. So I take the branded box out. It has a beautiful mate paper, and it has a light texture, and the logo has been embossed. The paper has been printed as well. So I open it, and there is a thank you card. There is the certification of the brand. There is a dust bag, which of course I take it out and put it on the side because for sure I'm going to keep that one. I keep also the certification and the thank you card on the side. I unwrap the shoes that were on tissue paper, which was also branded. I take the shoes out and there was paper in between them and inside them. And that I leave them together with the e-commerce box, because for sure I'm going to throw them away, even though they're super pretty, but I don't need them. The only thing I'm sure I will keep is the branded box, because it's beautiful, and in case I want to sell them at a certain point, and the certification card. But for the rest, everything I'll throw away, or even the thank you card, because it's actually useless. It's just nice to photograph, and of course I do it. I photograph it and I post it because I want all my friends to know that I got this new pair of shoes, branded shoes, and I want them to see all the gadgets and how the brand was so cute, and the beautiful gesture of the brand. Okay, so imagine I just told you a story that took me maybe 2.5 minutes, but I want now you to think about the box and all the paper that was involved in that packaging, because whereas it took me 2.5 minutes to tell you the story of a box and all the tissue paper, the journey didn't begin in the factory. So the journey begins with a seed that was planted to make trees. Unfortunately, more than 30% of those trees are coming from protected forests, but let's leave that aside right now. So let's say these seeds were planted between the boreal forests of Canada, some in the south of the United States, some others in Brazil, and others in Indonesia, which are the 4 biggest markets for tree plantation for pulp making. Since each one produces a different kind of tree, and trees mature in different timings, so 6 years to 100, and for making different kind of papers, maybe you need different kind of trees. Let's say that we wait 10 to 20 years to cut those trees on average, because of course we use much more the ones of 6 years. So we wait 10 years to cut those trees. These trees are cut with machinery that are fuel-based, and then they get in a truck and they're transported through vehicles that are also fuel-based. And so they do a long trip up to the pulperies. Let's say that ours is located in the United States because it's the biggest pulp making market in the world. In these pulperies, we need some treatment. That it can be, if it's a rough thing like a brown box, most likely it's a mechanical process, but if it's fine it's a fine process and we need white paper or, that remember the beautiful box? Well, we need a chemical process. Hence, there are many chemicals involved in this, which is also the transportation, the making of the chemicals, the transportation of it, and then the disposal of them. If we don't dispose those chemicals well, they will end up in rivers and oceans, a big agent of pollution. So imagine these chemicals were well disposed and the pulp has to be transported to the paper mill. And of course, to be transported, it needs to go into industrial containers that are reused, and it will be moved again by land, sea, and air to get to the paper mill. Since China is the largest producer of cardboard in the world, imagine that, remember that our seeds were planted Canada, Brazil, Indonesia, and the United States, and then they were transported to the United States to get the pulp, and so now they have to get to China. So this is the third world trip. The paper is being the best globetrotter so far. And so we get to China and we need again more land, sea, or air transportation to get to the actual factory that will manufacture the cardboard. The cardboard will be transformed through mechanical or chemical processes into a box. But most likely the box is not going to be sold in China for the Chinese market. So let's imagine that those boxes goes to one of the biggest producers, shoe producers in the world, that is not in China. Let's say that those boxes, they get to Italy. So they get to the port and it gets to Italy, where it has to be again transported to the factory that will use that cardboard to transform it into either the beautiful box or that will go directly to the shoe factory. And let's say it got to the Genova port, and the shoe factory, of course, is not in Liguria because there's no shoe factories in Liguria, so it goes to the Riviera del Brenta. So it has to drive more or less 400 kilometers by land, another fossil fueled vehicle to transport that paper, box, cardboard, call it whatever you want, so we can have a box in the factory. And once it's in the factory, we have not yet delivered the shoe to the end customer, and the customer hasn't yet returned the box, because then there's also the problem that many customers do returns. So, and when they do returns, the boxes get damaged. I told you a story of 2.5 minutes to buy a pair of shoes, and maybe I'm taking like 10 minutes to tell you the story of a cardboard box that, if holistically we understand the time from the time the seed was planted up to the time it got to our places, most likely it's a box that took 20 years to get to us, plus all the chemicals and fossil-based materials, fuels that were used, so it could be delivered to our hands. And we dispose it in less than 1 minute. And so here I take back what I first said. I came here to tell you how the fashion and footwear industry can be agents of change through better decision making. So I just want to put one fact out there, but only in the European Union we produce more than 33 billion tons of cardboard garbage each year. So there is a lot that could be done aside from recycling, because recycling, it's already polluting system. Of course, better recycling than raw materials, than the extraction of new raw materials, but it still pollutes. It emits carbon dioxide that could have otherwise been saved. So what are some of the best practices in the industry? For sure, compostability, which I understand it can be a problem for storage, so And I also know it has a very big cost. But the moment we understand what it costs, like what are the costs implied after getting a box, then maybe we can see the cost from a different perspective and account it in a different way. So compostability is definitely the best solution because we would be avoiding billions of kilos of trash each year. Then my favorite, which is circularity. Circularity is not only a solution to emissions, but it's also an enhancement of creativity and inclusivity, if we want to think about it. So Samsung, this is a very old project, but it's still one of my favorite ones. They did a competition with Design magazine, and they organized artists from all around the world to make sculptures with the boxes of their TVs. And here are some of the results. This didn't only extend the life cycle of the box per se, but it also was a powerful marketing tool for Samsung, while also creating a sense of community. Helen Kirkum, I love her. I honestly admire her work so much. More than a shoe designer, I would say she's an upcycling artist. I don't know right now how her boxes are, but at the beginning, she used to make her shoe boxes with designs inside, so you could cut them and create shoe sculptures with the box. That was connected to her original way of creating the upcycled shoes, because she would create a lot of those sneaker sculptures and share them on Instagram. So this also became a great way to connect it with her brand identity. At the same time, she was creating community because people would create these small sculptures, share them on Instagram, so she would also get advertisement for free. And people would be more than happy, to connect while creating with this artist. And finally, if we want to keep it super simple, I understand that for big companies, it is a real challenge to change the way they operate. But at least if it's 100% recycled, then we are one step ahead. Sustainability is actually not difficult, but it definitely entails that we need to change habits. We need to change our value chain, which, of course, for corporations, it's a massive work. It's very difficult, and I understand. But definitely, I do invite you to think a bit ahead of you, to think outside of the box and explore alternatives, because there are many. And the most important thing is to understand that it's not a matter of using a low environmental impact material, it's a matter of measuring the solution. A solution to climate change must prove that there is indeed a lowering in the footprint, not that we are using a sustainable material. Thank you very much.